Senior Specialist for Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning at Alteryx. With a background in AI research, Jupiter advises Alteryx strategic customers on how to democratize generative AI while de-risking it. Please welcome Jupiter Bakakeu.
So thank you very much. Thank you for welcoming me. I'm Jupiter Bakakeu, coming from Alteryx. I'm here to talk about something more concrete, generative AI, and more concretely about large language model. So one thing we all know is that it is something that catches a lot of attention, but there is a lot of struggle how you can democratize this. And I will go over how we do it with some of our customers. So in the first part, I will talk about the benefit of large language model, how you can train them on private data. And secondly, I will present you one solution, how you can make it more democratic at your organization. So I am coming from Alteryx. Alteryx is a data analytics company. We specialize in data analytics, everything that goes from data acquisition to the presentation layer. We exist for more than 25 years, and we have a global 2000 penetration around 60% now. Now the slide is quite not really updated. And today we will first look at the power of generative AI and why you need to build your own on your own data. Then we will have a reference architecture and implementation, the challenge in productionalizing generative AI. And then I will show you also one method, one way how some of our customers achieve to scale those use cases. So you have all seen the headlines. Large language model, generative AI is quite revolutionizing the business field. So you have seen also large language model doing a lot of things. One of them, for example, is the protein structure decoding. You know, we had in the beginning something that we took about 3 years PhD study in order to have the protein structure. We have AlphaFold that you have the decoding around 1 or 2 hours. Now it's something that you can get in the matter of seconds. This is just one example of what you can do with that. And it is not a surprise that there is a lot of business impact what this generative or new technology can bring to us. And I brought with me one study from McKinsey that specifically highlight what is it within this, I will say, generative AI hype that brings a lot of value. What is the impact? And 2 things that we can notice is that first, based on what we know, generative AI open up for new use case. So the major impact will be on those use cases that until now has been either not really solved efficiently or we didn't really think about it. One example is that generative AI, for example, bring the possibility to bring different modality to certain use case. Having speech, having visual, having text-based interaction at the same time. Now you can take it to a specific context, and then you can see what kind of use case you can generate on top of that. And the second way that I want to see is that most of these generative AI, specifically for large language model, they come as a kind of coach that increase the productivity of the employee. And one of the business impact that we see also in the future is about the increase of this productivity. And for me also, and for you, this is where you need to tap. First, you need to find this use case, this new use case. And there is only one way that you can find the use case, specifically for business user, specifically non-technical user, is to let them experiment with the technology. Not experiment with the chatbot, but experiment also with the large language model that is behind it. And once they understand the technology, then they can come to new idea how they can apply it on the specific use case that they have. The second thing that we see here is that different industry will be impacted differently. So the software engineering industry, the customer operation industry, these are the first thing where we see the first use case are emerging, where you see also the high impact. And this is also for us really clear that not only specific industry, but daily business, even routines that the employee do will be impacted by those technology. What about if you give them the possibility also to experiment with those technology at the basic level? And but we need to be sure. This actually is this actually highlights the potential, but it's also something that can be quite risky. You all know that hallucination, privacy breach, data breach, knowledge breach, all these kind of problems. But in order to attack this, we need to have a way to give your customer, our customer or specific company, the way to build this kind of technology on their own data. And of course, the benefit to that is quite high. Data privacy, controllability, ownership, the ability also to control what the large language model is generating and so. And before I go over the methods that we develop, how you can really help your business user to also experiment with this kind of technology, let's take the example of large language model, understand what is going on, how this model works, and also I will present you exactly an efficient way how you can bring your customer, in our case, also your employee, to experiment with those technology. So basically, large language model, as probably some of you know, this is just a model that tries to predict the next token based on the sequence of tokens. These tokens, sequence of tokens that you produce can be interpreted as a text, but can be also some kind of embedding for some visual representation, or can be also some kind of command for a robot. In that sense, you can to introduce some kind of agency also on those kind of model. And I specifically like this picture because it highlights that the embedding, the sequence of token, everything that you can transform into a sequence of token can be actually used. Can be an image, can be videos, can be also a voice message, something like this. And basically, the only task that it does is just to predict the next token. And by doing so, he tried to grab some kind of complexity between some context. For example, if you take a lot of content from Wikipedia and so on, and you train on that, then you try to generate some text that quite simulate some kind of intelligence that those models really expose. And you can use these properties in order to trick also this large language model to do different things. For example, if you take the simple example of text completion, you just give him some text and then say, OK, please just predict the next token. And if you are intelligent enough, you can, for example, put some kind of text, then add some marker for a question, give the right answer that is related to the text. You give you some kind of example, and then you ask a question, and you just put the answer marker, and then let him please compute the next token. At that level, he somehow achieved to also answer with the right question based on the context that you provide. And this was, in a sense, I would say, the born of what we call prompt engineering, which means that there is a word feed that we really use this kind of text-generated text completion task in order to trick the large language model to do the task that we want to do. This is one example that we have with our manufacturing firm, which were actually building a chatbot in front of the machine, so that if somebody, for example, has, let's say, an error that he has not seen before, he can describe the error to the chatbot and also see that. And by doing some smart prompt engineering on the other hand, you can insert some live data that you get from the machine, and then based on the document that you have internally, you can quite to make some kind of recommendation what will be the next course of action, or what could be potentially also the cause of the error that you have. And of course, these large language models, they are not intelligent at all. We have all seen that. It's just stochastic parts, which means that if you take a model that you have trained on generalized data set, for example, coming from internet, you will not have a sense of what the particular vision of your company is. This is quite important because once you understand that, then there is also a need to fine-tune those kind of model on your internal data. And because you also want to de-risk also what does that mean? You don't want to hand the data over to some third-party company to make the training for you. You need to be able to do that. And in some cases, in some company, there are also some barrier between departments where also the own department, the business, need to train also the model on the document that they know the content, and they need also the possibility to validate it on the fly. So now you have seen exactly what this is, and the question is, how do you fine-tune such a model, and how can you democratize it? How can you enable the business user also to fine-tune those kind of models? Let's have a look on the process on how you fine-tune. Basically, there are 3 steps. So I brought this this graph with you. This is one methodology among some. This is reinforcement learning with human feedback. Basically, you have 3 steps. You have the supervised fine-tuning, the reward modeling, and the reinforcement learning. Each of these steps has worked on his own data sets. He used some kind of algorithm that you can see here as a kind of objective. Here for the supervised functioning, the objective is very simple, like he has been trained for the base model or the foundation model in that set to predict the next token. And what he produced, each of these steps produce one algorithm, one asset that can be reused for the subsequent stage. So for supervised fine-tuning, what you need here is just your internal data. Sometimes really there's no need for a high-level cleansing on the data. You just bring your data with your knowledge and try to just train with the same principle that the foundation model has been trained by catching some part of the text and letting him just predict the next step. What we have seen is that at that point, it tried to capture also the semantic of some words or some knowledge that you have in your document. At that point, he knows exactly, if I ask what is the vision of the company, there is a high propensity that he answers it in the direction that we have also in our internal document. There is subsequent stage when you need really to have something very specific for a specific task, reward modeling. By reward modeling, this is a little bit different in the sense that we will build some kind of model, we will train a model that will rank exactly the answer that, I will say, the text that has been generated by the large language model. And we do that by generating different answers to specific questions that we curated before, and then we will let them really we will rank from the highest, the best one, the more accurate, the less accurate, and we will train the model to do this task or ranking the answer for us. And once we have the model that can answer, we really put some kind of reward on a specific answer, we can now retrain the model on a curated data set to let him exactly do the things that we do. And there is standard reinforcement learning algorithm can be used, PPO, or any actor critic algorithm can also be play the roles. But how do you concretely deploy this? Normally, what you have here an application that could be a large language model, a chatbot as a web application, but these chatbots are based basically on the large language model or reuse a large language model in the backend. But in our solution, the most interesting thing is that all the data ingestion, most of the time, the large language model fine-tuning, this is something that in our solution, we need to let also the business user take that. And to be honest, the fine-tuning itself can be done today just with 3 lines of code. There's nothing really complicated. The whole jobs come in ingesting the data, bringing it in the format that we can do the fine-tuning. And the other thing is also try to experiment with different prompts. What is the best prompt for the task that I have? And this is the task that you as a data scientist, you can really ship to the business. Give the business the possibility to train also their model on their own infrastructure and give them the possibility also to test different prompts that can work best for them. And this is where we come into play, Alteryx with our platform. So you all know you are a data science team, a reduced kind of expert that know exactly how these things work, they build, but with the huge hype that we have around large language model, the request is quite immense. I have one example for a manufacturing company. They want to build in 3 months 80 chatbots for different business users to have it on production by the 1st of January. So this, if you want to do these kind of things, for example, you have to hire a lot of people. You don't find enough data scientists that can do that. So the only way is to provide them with the tool, the methodology, and the platform where everyone can also participate. And the best way to do that is just to democratize. And this is exactly what Alteryx offers. What we offer concretely is a way where we give the possibility to business users also to be involved. And you can see also in that graph that once the handover point of the data, of the model, of the trained model is pushed down to the analyst or the business at that time, then the innovation capacity grows exponentially. So how does our tools look concretely? So what we have, Alteryx proposed a data analytics platform where we propose pre-built building blocks in order for you to do this kind of data manipulation. Ingesting the data for different sources, prepare the data, format it, start the supervised fine-tuning process. You just need to define exactly what I want to have, what are the input and the output, and everything that is required in the background. The compute cluster infrastructure that you need in the background, the hyperparameter tuning, all these will be done automatically by us. And by having a single platform where everything is managed, where everyone can access, where everyone can build exactly his own, you give the business user the possibility now to build a custom agent or the custom large language model, and you give them also the possibility to experiment what works best for them. And most of our customers use it in different ways. One way is, for example, to know what are the high-value use cases. Normally, what they do is that they make some kind of request internally, they collect, and then an expert sits and decides if this is the right use case for them. But one of our customers, they just did it completely differently. They give the tool to the business user and say, this is how you can build your own. Try to experiment with your daily jobs, your daily business, daily problem that you have, and let us give us what is the return of value that you get out of that. So they did it, and they specifically from around 170 use cases, they identified 30 high-value use cases with the first prototype. So we are not talking about if this will work, but the business comes with you and say, hey, we have built something. This is currently working. We can productionalize it, but let's get your data science team involved so that we have something that is robust enough. So this is the range of the industry where we are and where we try to pitch exactly where we have experimented also this approach. And concretely, I will invite you also at our stand so you can have a live demo on how this works. And I brought with me just a screenshot of what the solution looks like. So you have actually in Alteryx the possibility just to use just some pre-built element, library element that you can now, like you are building a workflow with the data flow, getting data from the source, and applying some kind of operation on the data. You have the possibility now to have some custom building blocks where you just say, okay, these are the data where I get. This is where I need to get the data. These are unstructured document that I need to pass. These are the content, just splitting them, bring it to the vector database, and then you have another workflow where you then say, okay, these are the parameters that are more interesting. Please fine-tune the model on top of those documents. So this is the way that we address, this is the way that we present it. If you want to see it live, just come our booth here in the corner, and then I will be happy to present you exactly how everything works. So thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jupiter Bakakeu. We still have a few minutes left. If there are any questions in the room, you can raise your hand at this point. Otherwise, thanks a lot, and we will directly continue with our panel. Thanks a lot, Jupiter Bakakeu.
Thank you.